we've experienced a government shutdown. In 2013, September 30th, men, women, and children all across the U.S. have suffered from this so-called shutdown. For instance, the unemployed, the disabled, even the military, those that work for the federal government, did not receive the certain benefits or financial funds that were promised to them. And because of this, my friends, we are suffering. Let alone, our country is in debt. And debate is raging over the continuing resolution and the debt ceiling. You should listen to my speech because sooner or later, this will affect you, whether you like it or not. This doesn't bother you that your very friends, your peers, your loved ones, your relatives are suffering consequences every day. Thousands of children each night go to sleep with not one final meal in their stomach. Why is this? Simply because their families depend on the federal government. How? Well, the federal government distributes food stamps. Therefore, if a low-income family does not receive food stamps from the government having this shutdown, then families and households don't get fed. Children go to sleep. It could be your neighbor. It could be your best friend. In this speech, I will inform you about the continuing resolution and debt ceiling. My first central idea is about how the U.S. federal budget process works. Secondly, the continuing resolution. Thirdly, the debt ceiling, and informing all those. President Obama had said that Congress should be concerned. Senator and Treasury Jack Lew said that Congress is playing with fire, all for a dangerous matter. In 2011, in December, Obama pushed the Bush tax cuts for 2 additional years to extend it to withstand this hold for our cuts. Now, since we're on this little history, a British economist named John Maynard Keynes brought the principle of saying that if a deficit should rise, then it should be lowered in hard economic times, giving a guiding principle to both parties, Democratic and Republican. Now, why do you think this is important? Well, to prevent. Which brings me to the first part about the budget process. That starts off by first determining the size of the deficit or the surplus. The deficit meaning in the spending exceeds amount of money for X amount of years or until the expiration of the date. Now, after doing that, you have to set and prioritize what are the standards and the limitations of what can be done and what cannot be done by the federal government agencies such as the Congressional Annual Budget Office and the Budget and Management Office, and etc. You have to give them accountability, a responsibility, and implant them for the physical goals by that year of October the 1st of every year of whenever it expires. So, 12% of non-discretionary spending comes from that same category. But after you find setting the responsibility for them, you have to then give an accountability. Now, they already know what to do. Now, what's last to do? To record. Record all information that took place from the start, from the middle, from the rise, from the fall, to the end. Because good observations is good science. And what we can prevent, we should do. Now, by keeping the economy aware of the history, it will prevent us from ever falling back, because this isn't the first time that our government experienced a shutdown. Which brings me to the second part of the central idea, the continuing resolution. Now, the continuing resolution is legislation that permits federal government agencies to operate existing funds if a new appropriation bill is not passed by the fiscal year of October the 1st. Now, we as first-time voters have the decision to make and have the opportunity and the chance to change what's been done in the past. Now, you always hear about people complaining about how the government does this, the government does that. Well, we are in control of that. We have the say-so. We have the voice because we can vote for the things that we want to happen and can take control of all aspects. Not saying that because you're liberal, because you're Republican, that your voice isn't heard. No. Vote the same electors, and each year change is not happening because of the same process is continuing, and we can make change. You wouldn't shoot yourself in the head, right? So therefore, that's what you're doing if you're voting the same people that you continue to dislike. Which also could bring me to the third point about the debt ceiling. Now, this debt ceiling is set by the Congress, and it's pretty much in our account for the country. Now, it's set for us to just only know where we stand in financially. And did you know that in the Constitution, it does not specifically quote or say that by the president or the chief executive is not held for the responsibility for the nation's funds. Although you would think that, of course, he's a president, he's in charge of us, it would be implied, but it isn't. Therefore, like I said, first-time voters, we have that responsibility. Now, going back to the debt ceiling, it is the limit that we set for ourselves so that we know where we stand with new funds. And if it reaches the limit that we have set, then the government cannot borrow any more money, or the United States cannot issue any more money, therefore triggering the government shutdown and then resulting in any existing funds that we cannot spend. Therefore, saying that and the Second Liberty Act of 1917 established this debt ceiling, giving it the realm of the accountability. Now, I've informed you about how the federal budget process works. Secondly, I informed you about and explained what the continuing resolution was. Thirdly, I explained the debt ceiling. And you all could be an answer to some solution. Whether it be that child that's starving, whether it be the neighbor who can't depend on the government anymore because they can't work because their arm is broken. You guys can make these changes by knowing and being informed and taking in the information that I have given you